Hey guys, Eric and Roth here. Talk about True Detective Season 2. We are recording this and it will be posting after the season premiere has aired. So full spoilers for the season premiere of True Detective Season 2 follow. So you've seen it, right? You're still with us? Okay, let's go. You know, obviously this was a very hyped up project because of Season 1's success and the acclaim and all the attention. Now you're going to Season 2 and now it's the returning hero, but it's also the returning, you got to prove something to us because so many elements are different.
Yeah.
What do you think about this first impression we've gotten?
Yeah, it's funny because I reviewed it.
Yeah.
So if you're really interested, you could go read my review on IGN.com.
If you know how to read.
But one of the things that I said is that, you know, I think inevitably you initially do compare it to the first season,
Sure.
right? Like, and I kind of even just consciously structured my review that way, and for the start did that. And then as we move along, I think we'll move away from that and just look at it for what it is. So having said that, as compared to Season 1, it doesn't start for me as strongly as Season 1 did, where I think you even felt less this way, but I was very taken with that show. Right from the start, right from the first episode, I was very taken with those characters and that relationship and their dynamic and this mystery.
Yeah.
You know, I really wanted to know what had happened in these 3 different timelines.
Right.
Although I don't think they set up the 3 timelines quite right away. My point is, with this episode, with the premiere episode of this season, it was very heavy on plot, and probably because there are more characters and they need to connect them, there was a lot of trying to make that work and trying to explain how they were going to be connected. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, because here, so I'm not a person who's a cop show guy, right? There's a lot of cop shows. Not into most of them, but I should say, you know, I might not have loved True Detective Season 1 as much as some people, but I still thought it was really good television.
Right.
And it did, from the beginning, have something different, right? Just McConaughey's character alone, being who he was in that world.
You had never really seen anything like that, much less from a buddy cop.
Right.
Well, they became sort of buddies.
But it was a nice kind of play on a buddy cop dynamic. The two of them were great together, so that did hook you in right away. This feels much more like a cop show, you know, like you said, more plot heavy, more like, okay, here's the world and here are these people and here's how they're going to kind of overlap, but not, I don't know, not in a way that was grabbing me nearly as much. And it was hard for me not to think, you know, okay, if this was just a new cop show, you know, which you have to be fair to it, you do have to be like, okay, this is a new cop show because it is, everything's different, you know. Yeah. But I don't know if there'd be a lot there to grab me. And, you know, we've seen the first 3. We're not going to go into full spoilers on 2 and 3. But I don't know. The whole thing so far feels okay story-wise, great acting. But I don't know if there's enough there yet to really hook me in.
You know, it's funny because after the first episode, I sort of felt that way. I was like, wow, I'm just not quite, I don't dislike it as much as I think some critics have disliked it.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it's bad at all, you know. But after that episode, would I have been as hungry for the next one as I am for some shows? No, I wasn't. But I did watch the next one because it was right there.
Right.
And then I was more taken with it. So by the time I got to the end of the second one, I did want to see the third, which I think speaks to an improvement, at least in sort of how the story was grabbing me, you know? And then a little bit, some relationships started to develop, right? So like, that core relationship of Marty and Russ, you get it right away, and they become sort of brothers by the end of it.
Right.
The relationship that I was most taken with moving forward, and you haven't seen it yet, in the new True Detective.
Well, you see them meet, but that's it. Yeah.
But it was between Colin Farrell and Rachel McAdams.
Right.
They have, I think, the best chemistry. And to me, Colin Farrell is the best part of the show. It's a broad character in some ways, you know, like these are tropes that we have seen before. He's a very damaged, corrupt cop, right?
Yeah.
But he's kind of great at being that, and there is something really mesmerizing about his performance that I'm very much enjoying. And I have to say, our boss and I were just saying this, for me, the highlight of the night was that episode was him going to that little kid's house and just beating the crap out of his dad. And I can't say it, so I'll just...
But you know the line.
I'll correct myself. 12 years old, my bleep. Bleep you. Bleep you.
Oh, well, he also said that he was going to bleep him with his wife's bleep. There was a whole lot of stuff going on there.
There's a lot of bleep this. But I think that moment of like, it revealed so much to me about his character because to him it was an act of love for his son.
Right.
Even though he'd been like horrifically yelling at him. But there was something about that, like 12 years old and already evil. Like about that told me everything I needed to know about his worldview.
See, I think Farrell's really good. I think the performance is very strong, but it's very hard for me to get past how much it is sinking into deep tropes. And yes, it's hard to come up with, look, everyone, the adage about like there's no new ideas is true. And even this first season, like we said, kind of was playing with the idea of the buddy cops, right?
Yes.
But going in a very interesting direction with it. In the premiere, Colin Farrell's character, there was a lot where I was like, okay, this is going big. Not his performance, but just the mustache, the bolo tie for a modern day cop in LA, the sitting in his car, chugging the booze.
Yeah.
It was really diving into those tropes in a way that was almost at times self-parody, I felt, because it didn't feel like it was winking or doing anything different on the surface with it, and we'll see where it goes, and I do think his performance is very good, but that's the kind of stuff that is to me a little worrisome, is that it's really using archetypes in a way that so far is just archetypal,
I agree, and that's the thing is you want it to subvert those expectations.
Sure. Yeah.
You want it to set up, those very sort of archetypal character, like they're all so damaged, in these very particular ways. I'm the military man who's haunted by war. I'm the woman who's tough like a man, I'm like it, and then Colin Farrell, the corrupt cop, and things like that, and the criminal trying to turn good and make good. Right, and you want it to, at a certain point, really surprise you, and that's what I hope it does along the way. I hope it's setting this up to sweep us off our feet and go, yeah, it's not what you thought at all. I hope it's just laying the groundwork in that way.
I hope so too, because I have to say the one other moment I kind of have to call out on a negative in the premiere, because it was the moment when I laughed out loud, was right at the end when there was the montage of misery, as we went around to all the characters being miserable, most of them drinking, and that girl is singing a song where the lyrics are literally, "This is my least favorite life."
Yeah.
And it was so unsubtle, right? It's like, oh, life sucks and we are miserable, and there's a girl singing about it,
Yeah.
And that is why you want it to twist, to a few episodes in, hopefully take that swerve.
I know we have to wrap up, but I will say that tonally, that is sort of my other concern, and I think one of the reasons I love that moment with Colin Farrell is because there was a lot of energy in it, and a lot of the show does feel like that. It feels like very kind of low energy and slow and miserable, and that moment had at least some power to it, and some energy, and it woke me up. In that first episode. So I liked that, because I will say that one of the unsung heroes, I think, of the first season is Woody Harrelson, whose performance is deceptively simple, but actually very nuanced, and his instincts were to make things funny that another actor might not have been able to. And that humor really helped for Cole to stand out even more, and it helped us to digest who he was, made Cole more palatable, because Woody stood in for us being like, this guy is nuts.
Right, he was
But there's so much what he's saying that's true.
Yeah, and lastly, I wanted to mention that, it's very notable, obviously, that it doesn't have the same director this season.
Yes.
Cary Fukunaga, hope I'm pronouncing his name right, directed the entire first season, and it really was, for TV especially, which is not typically a director's medium, True Detective really felt like this is a director's work just as much as the writing was, and he's not back, and so this time we're getting different directors each episode, and I don't know, I'm worried it's gonna feel a little more basic with that.
And that he had a very great style, and to do a wonderful 10-hour unique movie and tale of this relationship, which was the core of that show. But I have hopes for this season. I know that we're sort of laying down our concerns about it, but I do have hopes, and I did enjoy the second and third episode more. I became more engaged with the story, so divorce myself from season 1 and engage with season 2 and be hopeful that it'll surprise us.
I'm less engaged, but I'm still hopeful. Always have hope, everyone. So that's our thoughts. That's our message. No, that's our thoughts so far on True Detective Season 2. What did you think? Did you love the premiere? Are you really excited by these new characters? Are you excited to see more? Let us know in the comments. We'll have plenty more True Detective here at IGN.